There's a saying in Flanders, you only become a prophet in your own land once you've won the Tour of Flanders. On the 30th of March 1969, a 23-year-old Belgian grocer's son from Brussels set out to earn his prophet status. His name was Eddy Merckx, and what he did that day was so obscene, so gloriously brutal, that his own director sportif called him a madman. To his face, from the team car, and that photograph of him being called a madman mid-race became an iconic image. By the spring of 1969, Eddy Merckx already had a palmarès that would make most professional riders weep. He'd been world champion at 22, winner of the Giro d'Italia, 3 editions he'd won of Milano Sanremo, Roubaix, Gent Wevelgem, La Flèche Wallonne. The man could retire at 24 and still have one of the greatest records in cycling ever seen. But there was one glaring omission: the Ronde van Vlaanderen, the Tour of Flanders, Vlaanderens Mooiste, Flanders' finest. And the Flemish press, they were merciless. Het Nieuwsblad, the newspaper that co-organised the race, ran a piece essentially questioning whether Merckx really had what it took to win their race. So Sunday, 30th of March, 178 riders sign on in Ghent for 259 kilometres of Flemish misery. And Flanders had brought its A-game in the weather department. Driving rain, a savage north wind, and the kind of cold that seeps into your bidon and never leaves. Merckx is nervous. He later admitted it. There was only one thing that mattered to me: to win the Ronde. In 1966 he crashed. In 67 Gimondi and Zandegu had marked him out of the race. In 68 the weather had been almost too good, too dry, too orderly, too controlled. Merckx didn't need sunshine. He needed filth. And today, filth had arrived. Just 28 kilometres in, catastrophe. A massive pile-up shreds the peloton, taking down a stack of riders, including the defending champion Walter Godefroot, or the Flemish Bulldog as he was known. Suddenly, only around 30 riders remain at the front, with more than 230 kilometres still to ride. The race is already in tatters. Merckx, flanked by his female teammates Jos Sprout and Herman van Springel among them. He rides on the front like a man possessed. He attacks on the Quermont, one of the classic climbs. That long grinding rise of slick stone and broken surface in those days, with ramps biting towards 11%. A puncture robs him of his advantage, but he's not done, not even close. On the Muur, or more accurately, the climb of the Oudenberg, Merckx goes again. A small group clings on. Near Volazeli, with around 70 kilometres still to go, the crosswind turns cruel and swings into a headwind. And Eddy Merckx does the most Eddy Merckx thing imaginable. He attacks, alone, into a headwind, with roughly 70 kilometres to ride. Now this is where history tips into myth. In the FEMA team car behind him, director sportif Guillaume Olome Dreesens, a man with all the subtlety of a brick in a sock, leans out of the window and screams at his young rider to sit up, to stop, to wait. "You'll never survive in the headwind." Merckx's reply, in colourful Flemish dialect, essentially told Dreesens to perform an anatomical impossibility on himself. But here's the detail people forget. Merckx doesn't vanish up the road. For the next 25 kilometres, his lead hovers stubbornly at around a minute. He's welded to the drops like a frozen corpse, refusing to ease, refusing to yield. The chaser's always there behind him. Rain in his eyes, cold gnawing through wool and into bone. Then the road forks at Nederbrakel. The invisible elastic finally snaps, and suddenly he's free. From Nederbrakel to the finish, Merckx stamps harder and harder on the pedals, turning seconds into minutes by sheer force of will. No domestiques, no shelter, just one man, one steel-framed velo, toe clips and a heart the size of Belgium. Later, he shrugged. What else could I do? Stay in the group and do all the work while the others just sit there and sheltered? If I wanted to win, I had to give everything. And everything is exactly what he gave. Eddy Merckx rolls into Ghent Bruges alone. He has time to breathe, to drink, possibly even to read the paper. 5 minutes and 36 seconds later, Félix Gimondi finally arrives in second place. Third place, Marino Basso, is more than 8 minutes down. It is the largest winning margin the Ronde has ever seen. Of the 178 starters, only around 40 make it to the finish. The prophet had arrived in his own land. In 1969, it was only just getting started for Merckx. He'd go on to 43 victories in total. But it all began that year on those filthy Flemish roads. That's not just cycling, that's legend. Chapeau, Eddy.